My buddy Nick Wright. Okay, I used to bang on wide receivers. I called him icing on the cake. But I got to be honest with you. I'm also a guy that says constantly, life changes, change with it, or get left behind. I think Golden Tate to Philadelphia, it matters. I mean, I acknowledge today I have to start liking wide receivers. React, please.
Well, the game has changed, right? Like, just Troy Vincent, who works in the league office, a higher up, he sends Chris and I every Monday, like, the latest records that have been broken. They all have to do with point scoring and passing.
Yeah.
You were talking during Herdline News about how bad Eli Manning's been this year, right? Mm-hmm. And to the eye test, he's been terrible. Yet he's having statistically the best season of his career. Why? Because all of the numbers are funny right now. It's some type of football inflation going on based on the ability of teams to throw the ball downfield. So if you can add talent at the wide receiver position, it's more valuable now than it's ever been. I applaud the Eagles for recognizing that their season isn't over. They have had a bad first half of the season. They are still the defending champs, though, and they shouldn't be 21st in the league in scoring. Let's try to add the single best run-after-catch receiver in football, and that's what they did. He's not one of the 10 best overall receivers in football, but he has a very specific skill set that he's great at. It's something they need. They're a bottom 6 run-after-catch team right now, so I love the move for Philly.
Yeah, and I did like Amari Cooper for the Cowboys. That was the same reason. I said they have everything else. They got the linebackers, the pass rusher, the running back, the left tackle. Let's get some speed on the outside. So the Packers this morning at practice, I would say this, Nick. The Green Bay Packers this morning at practice are less talented. They're a less talented football team. I look at their division. I already thought going in they were less talented than the Vikings and the Bears. This feels like Ty Montgomery ticked off Aaron, get out the door, and nobody's going to say that publicly, but Mike McCarthy, I think, is about 8 games from ticking off Aaron Rodgers and being out the door. They already demoted Ted Thompson. I think there's a weird, unhealthy relationship, small town and Aaron Rodgers. I felt it with Shaq in Orlando. I sometimes feel it with OKC and Westbrook. What did you make of the Montgomery, Clinton Dix moves?
All right, listen, I don't care about the Ty Montgomery move. Ty Montgomery is not an important player in this league. He found a way to make an imprint on a game in a super negative way. If that soured the locker room on him, fine. The reason I know he's not a super valuable player is here's what they got from him. Approximately the 240th pick in a draft the year after next. The smallest compensation you can get. The Clinton Dix move is perplexing. And for me, a football fan, not a Packer fan, but a football fan, it's infuriating. The Packers have spent first-round picks on defensive players each of the last 6 years. He's the only one to have made a Pro Bowl. Pro Football Focus says he's the second best active safety in the league right now, second to DJ Swearinger, who he's now going to be a teammate with.
Yeah.
You trade him for what's going to be the 110th pick of the draft, you're not the team leading your division has Mitch Trubisky at quarterback. By definition, they can't run away with it. The Vikings have been good in spots this year, but not overwhelming. You've got Aaron Rodgers. You don't think about the teams that either right now are great or have a superstar aging quarterback. The Saints, they add Eli Apple. The Pats, they add Josh Gordon. The Rams, they added Dante Fowler. The Chiefs tried to add Earl Thomas. The Packers, no, we'll be sellers at the deadline. The hell you doing, cheeseheads? Come on, it's awful.
I was talking about this, and it's right in your alley because you used to live in Houston, that great dynasties, Saban's making people crazy in the South, Brady's made the Bills and the Dolphins nuts. They're nutty franchises. They used to be gold standard. And Daryl Morey, who I love, got real close to beating Golden State and then added the last thing they need, a moody, poor defensive, aging star, unwilling to hit threes. The Rockets are off to a terrible start. Can I make the argument that it's that whole crazy thing, you almost beat a dynasty and then you reach in the offseason?
It's funny. I think you can make the argument, but I think you're making it with the wrong piece of evidence. I don't think the argument that Golden State is making guys go crazy is Houston signing Melo. I think it might be the trade that they haven't been able to pull off for Jimmy Butler. Daryl Morey has always valued flexibility, assets, and he offered up the most first-round picks you're allowed by NBA law to offer up for what could have been a one-year rental of Jimmy Butler. That would have been, I think, an example, even though it would have made the Rockets far better this year, an example of a team going crazy. But it's got to feel maddening in Houston. They were, for 2 weeks, better than the greatest team ever, the Golden State Warriors.
Yeah.
They then have their second-best player get hurt. The greatest three-point shooting team in the history of basketball, last year's Rockets, then missed 27 consecutive threes at home, and you're going home, they're champions, and then they add Boogie Cousins. But for them to be 1-5, Colin, look at those last 4 losses, or look at the first loss in the last 3, all at home. 4 home blowout losses. They only had 1 home blowout loss all of last year. They only lost 7 times in total all of last year. They're 1-5. Last year, do you know when they lost their 5th game? Game 30. They started 25-4. Like, I'd be upset and panicked too because, and one other thing on the Rockets, Daryl knows what this feels like. 4 years ago, they won 56 games, made the conference finals, and the Warriors beat them. And the next year, the mountains seemed too damn big, and they limped to a 41-win season in the 8th seed. I'm sure our mutual pal, Daryl Morey, is nervous about that, even though he hasn't told me that he is. If I were him, I'd be nervous about it.
Finally, yesterday, one of the things I've always loved about the NBA, the season ends, and I get a month of free agency, and it's as good as the regular season to me. In fact, I like the playoffs first, then the regular season. Yesterday, the trading deadline, I got to be honest with you, Nick, it felt NBA-ish. I loved it. Did you?
This is the one thing the NFL has never done as well as the NBA or even Major League Baseball. The transaction. Free agency's muted in the NFL because of that ridiculous un-American franchise tag that is just an absolute black mark on the league as a whole, but that's another story. And because of the convoluted nature, oddly enough, of prorated signing bonuses, trades have never been huge in the NFL because you have to deal with the cap ramifications in ways you don't in baseball and basketball. Over the last few years, what teams have realized is our GMs have way overvalued the 170th player in an upcoming draft. Every GM forever had thought, well, I can't trade away a 5th-round pick. I'm a genius. Obviously, I'm going to find Richard Sherman. I can't trade around a 4th-round pick. I'm a genius. I'm going to find Russell Wilson. No, you're not. You're not a genius. You're not going to find that guy. Trade for tangible assets you can touch. I loved it. I thought this was the most active and important trade deadline in the NFL in my lifetime. I want to see more like it. I think it's a step in the right direction.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.